What has God delivered me from in terms of this? God delivered me from having no boundaries at all. I used to do anything the crowd would do just to feel validation, just to want to be accepted by others, and just to want to be cared for by others, when really I should have only been looking for that from God. What's good, everybody? Welcome back to the Powered by Christ podcast. It's your boy Malachi Jones, musically known as MalWorldWide. Y'all go stream me on all music platforms. Y'all can search up MalWorldWide and y'all gonna find it. Also, new albums coming soon. We'll talk about that at the end of the podcast. But I'm really excited to get back into another podcast episode. This right here is Powered by Christ podcast season 2, episode 5. And I hope y'all enjoy this. I pray y'all enjoy this because this is gonna be a dope episode. But the topic that I chose for this current episode is boundaries and what's considered crossing the line to me on my own journey with God. So if you know or not, it's very important, as a believer, as a Christian, to have boundaries on your walk with God, because if you don't have boundaries, either you're going to cross those boundaries or the person that you're with is going to cross the boundaries that you have. Matter of fact, I said that wrong. If you don't have boundaries, you're going to start crossing lines left and right that are going to negatively affect your walk. And if who you're with doesn't have boundaries, then that means y'all both don't have boundaries. So now y'all are just crossing lines left and right, and it's not looking good. So I say that to say this: it's very important to put boundaries up in a positive way. You don't have to put boundaries up in a negative way, as if you're necessarily kicking somebody out of your life. Well, unless they're really harming your walk with God, then you can, get rid of them and kick them out your life. If they're not doing something that's like severely harming your walk with God, then it's okay to put up like a small boundary. It don't matter what side, but it's okay to put up a small boundary just to let that person know that I'm not okay with this, or just let yourself know that I won't tolerate this, because everybody doesn't have boundaries. And I hate to say it and I hate to break it to you, but every Christian doesn't have boundaries. So that's why I'm bringing this podcast forth, because God put this whole message on my heart to share. And don't even worry about the consistency, because I'm gonna start building more and more consistency. I know I've been slow with releasing podcasts, and y'all want more and more and more from me, and that's gonna come. That's gonna release. But I just been busy with so much other things. I've been trying to get, the release date for this album right, the pre-order date for this album right, so the whole world can hear it. Because I want everybody to hear it. I'm not gonna gatekeep this album from nobody. This is what I've been through. This is the way I'm encouraging others. And this podcast, even though I love doing it, it's not that I feel my most powerful way of spreading God and changing lives. I feel like it's my music. And people gonna feel that when I release this album in August. So y'all stay tuned. But back to the podcast, boundaries and what's considered crossing the line to me on my own journey with God. I'm gonna start with the first verse that I have. And the first verse that I wrote is Proverbs 25:28. And this is what it says. I used to always, read this verse right here to myself. I used to always repeat it back to myself. I used to always say it. But Proverbs 25:28, this verse right here is a verse that really relates heavily to the topic, because if you cross that boundary, whether you cross it or your partner crosses it or whoever you're with crosses that boundary, you will be heavily affected on your walk. And I'm going to explain why after I read it. Listen, Proverbs 25:28 says this: a person without self-control is like a city with broken down walls. It's like basically a person who doesn't know how to control their lust. So this can be various aspects of their walk. It's not just lust that requires self-control. It's your mouth, because a lot of people have a potty mouth. You can't claim to be a Christian and have a potty mouth. Because go read the book of James. There's a verse in the book of James specifically for those who have a potty mouth but are claiming to be a Christian. That will help you cut that sin completely out your life. There's a verse in James that says, if I'm not mistaken, it's in James. I don't know. I'm going to put it somewhere in the video, but there's a verse in James that says, if you claim to be religious but don't control your tongue, and you are only fooling yourself, and your religion is working. Now, I pray that I quoted that scripture perfectly how it is, but that relates to just someone having a potty mouth. The way you talk requires self-control, whether you like it or not. If you want to be all in for God, you can't have one foot in and then one foot out. This is the potty mouth, and this is the tongue when you're talking good. Both feet have to be in. You have to get off the guardrail. This is the guardrail. You have to put both feet in for God. There's so many other things besides just lust, and besides just, controlling your words. Because your words have power. It doesn't matter if you heavily said it or lightly said it. If it came out wrong or if it came off as wrong, then your words have power. And somebody will never forget how you made them feel. So even when someone's, lashing out at you, lashing out back will not make it better. Lashing out back will not solve the situation. It just won't. And that's where self-control comes in. You have to know God's word on your own heart. Maybe you in an argument with your significant other, you in an argument with your parents, or you can be in a loud argument with your friend, and the other person is yelling at you, screaming at you. It seems like they have no self-control, but the goal is not to make the situation worse. The goal is to de-escalate the situation. Yes, what you or your friend or whoever other may be did was wrong, but you have to figure out a way to de-escalate the situation. And you can't do that without self-control. I'm gonna just say it how it is. And self-control is like so important. It's something everybody should have. Like, I've been getting so much better with it. I've gotten so much better with self-control in my life. I'm talking every area possible that you can think of that requires self-control, I've got better at it. And I used to just like fall for every single temptation. I'm talking about lustfully. God delivered me from lust. But every single situation you can think of that requires self-control, I feel like, I'm not going to say I've completely mastered it, but I've gotten so much better. Because I work cashier at a restaurant. I'm not going to say where, but I work cashier at a restaurant. Actually, I do multiple roles at this restaurant I work at. But one of the main ones that I work is cashier. That's one of the main roles. And being cashier, anybody who works fast food or anybody who works at a restaurant, if you work cashier, you know that you deal with angry customers. You know that you deal with angry people. And so there's times when people come into the restaurant you work at that they don't have self-control. And you may not have self-control either. Or you may have self-control. I don't know who I'm talking to individually because it's many different people on the other side of the screen who are listening to me. But self-control is something that has to be like mandatory working at a restaurant. Like self-control, teamwork, cooperation, listening, attentiveness, efficiency, so many more other things if you get what I'm saying. But like, there's so many times, like me talking from my own personal experiences, like me working cashier, I've worked cashier in multiple restaurants, I'm not gonna lie. And like, there's so many times where I wanted to spaz out, literally spaz out on the person spazzing out on me, but God would not do that. Christ would not do that. Christ would not spaz out on who's spazzing out on him. He tried to de-escalate it. So why are you trying to be like the world, arguing with the arguer? You're only gonna like make the fires worse. This is the fire, and then you arguing is only gonna make it like this. So I hope y'all get my point, but you have to have self-control. And right now, I'm trying to think of other things besides lust and other things besides profanity that requires self-control. Oh, another thing that requires self-control is eating. You can't always be eating bad. And I'm gonna tell y'all another thing. I was at work the other day. There's a couple times at work, this restaurant that I work at now, I've got off like 1 in the morning, and this happened more than once. Like, there's times where I've closed, and I'm only talking about the restaurant I work at now, because I've really ever closed at all the other restaurants I worked at. But at this one I worked at, there was a situation that was brought before me where I had got off work and I had like received my tips because I got money and tips. It was like $5.25 or something like that. But I had asked to save me food for like after the shift, because right when my shift ended, there was a customer who didn't get their food because they forgot about it. And every time a customer forgets about food and leaves it and doesn't pick it up, we either throw it away or we eat it. So the shift manager, he had asked me, do I want it? And initially I said yes. I looked in the bag and it was like 2 burgers. And I was feeling like eating it, I'm not gonna lie. I looked in the bag and then I was like, eating this won't glorify God. Why would I want to eat this if it don't glorify God? If it don't make me feel good, or if it doesn't make God feel good, because it's gonna make me feel good. There's a lot of things that make you feel good, but doesn't make God feel good. But it has to be equal on both. It has to make God feel good first, and then make you feel good. Not make you feel good and then make God feel good, because God is always up here. But it's just so important to not always be doing what you want, because then you won't have self-control. And in that past situation I was telling you about, it was very recent, by the way, and I was about to eat unhealthy. Like, I had got off work at like 1 in the morning that day. I was so tired, like I was exhausted. I didn't wake up till like 10:30. But, and that's today. That's today that I ain't wake up to that late, because that's when I got off work, literally right before I recorded this video, the past day. Right when I had got off work, that same bag, I had that same bag in my hand of the 2 burgers that the shift manager gave me, because I told him that I wanted him to save it for me. So he did save it, he gave me the bag with the 2 burgers. I looked in it, I'm like, I can't eat this. I thought of 1 Corinthians 10:31. And then when that verse came to mind, I just said the whole verse in my mind. And if you don't know what 1 Corinthians 10:31 is, it's whether you eat, whether you drink, or whatever you do it all for the glory of God. And eating junk food does not glorify God. You listen to this. Eating junk food does not glorify God. You know, Fulfilling your flesh does not glorify God. Having poor profanity does not glorify God. There's so many people out there who claim to be Christian but have a potty mouth. And like I said, literally like 3-4 minutes ago, that does not line up with God. Like, you can't have a potty mouth and say you're all in for him, because you might be all in for the lowercase g God, but it's not the God I serve. And I'm so glad that never happened to me. Like, there was really never a point in time where I had a severe potty mouth. I ain't gonna lie, I'm not gonna say I've never cursed in my life, but I've never had like a severe rapid potty mouth like some people do. And then on top of that, they claim to be Christian. Like, a lie on top of poor profanity just makes it worse. You know, I used to cuss every now and then. I used to only do it because I was looking for validation and because everybody around me was doing it. But that I had to stop. I had to quit doing that because mainly it didn't glorify God. And when you're both feet in for God and you're off the guardrail, you have to understand that it's no longer about what you want. And that goes for everything, but specifically self-control. You cannot crave the things you used to crave when you're all in for God. You cannot crave the people you used to crave when you're all in for God. You have to crop all that out the picture, because you're in a new frame now. Ooh, I'm talking to somebody right now. Comment down below in the comment section if I'm talking to you. But self-control is different with everybody, because I know for a fact, guaranteed, everybody has a certain area in their life that requires self-control. This area may require self-control, or this area, or it could be multiple areas. If it's not one area, it's multiple. But I'm fully confident that it's not a single person on earth who can say that I have 0 areas in my life that need self-control. No, you need self-control somewhere in your life. You just may not have found it yet. Only man who really did need self-control was Christ. He was perfect in every way. He never sinned. He never cussed. He never, got in a fight. He never backtalked. He did everything he was supposed to do on earth, and he fulfilled his purpose perfectly. And he left this earth when he was 33. He was 33. But I'm not going to spend too long on this first verse. Just understand that self-control is very important on your walk with God. You have to have it. If you claim to be a Christian, you have to have it. A spouse has to have it. Your man, your woman has to have it. Self-control is detrimental, because if y'all don't have self-control, y'all won't be able to glorify God, because y'all will tempt each other. And it talks about that a lot in 1 Corinthians. Y'all will tempt each other if y'all don't have no self-control. And then this is the last couple things I'm going to say on Proverbs 25:28. Relating to my walk and what's considered crossing the line to me on my own walk with God is if the girl I'm with has no self-control. That's like such a red flag to me, because if she has no self-control, I have to leave. I say that because if she doesn't have any self-control, she's going to tempt me to do things that are outside of God's will. She's going to tempt me to do things that God wouldn't be pleased of. She's going to tempt me to do things that are outside of marriage. She's going to tempt me to do things that bring temporary fulfillment. It doesn't bring lasting fulfillment. It doesn't bring permanent fulfillment. Marriage brings more fulfillment than doing it with the person you will never see again. And I just spoke to somebody. Marriage brings more fulfillment than doing it with someone that you know you won't be with forever, and you know that you will never see again. Just straight like that. Like, if she has no self-control and I'm experiencing that and I'm seeing that, I have to walk the opposite direction. If she's coming towards me, I have to walk the opposite direction. And I'm going to have to keep walking the opposite direction, because I'm not going to be with someone who has no self-control. I can't be with someone who has no self-control. Then I'm going to learn from her ways. I'm going to pick up on her bad habits. When the man is really supposed to be the one leading the woman, providing for the woman, taking care of the woman, having her back, that's really the man's job. The woman is there for comfort, she's there for peace, household, and many other things too. But the man is, he plays more of a stronger role. He plays more of a leading role. I'm not saying the wife is supposed to obey the husband, but I'm saying the wife is supposed to be led by the husband. The wife is supposed to obey God, but she's supposed to be led by the husband. And the husband can't lead the wife if he's not led by Christ. Ooh, that kind of just rhymed. I ain't gonna lie. But another situation, and this is the last thing I'm going to say before I move on to the next verse, and I hope somebody feel this. Another thing that is considered crossing the line to me, my own journey with God, is if, he has no self-control. And before you interpret this the wrong way, this is what I mean. If I'm hanging out with a group of dudes, we just out and about, say like it's homeboys or something like that, And like, none of them have self-control. You know, they always lusting after every attractive female they see. I'm gonna start to pick up from their bad habits. So if you would do listen to this, you're gonna pick up from all their bad habits. And then flip the script a little bit, because it can be both ways. So if you're a female and you hanging out with all your girls and your girls lust after every attractive dude they see, for one, they can't lock in on one dude because their lust is too strong. And two, you're gonna learn from their negative ways because you're always around them. You can't detach. You cannot literally, it's like breaking a branch. You refuse to break the branch because you're so locked in. You're so locked in with negativity. You're so locked in with negative people that you can't just detach and walk the opposite way. And people who have no self-control, if you hang out with people who have no self-control, and this is the last time I'm gonna say this, I'm not only talking about lust, I'm talking about profanity. All of the bad habits that oppose God will build up higher. You'll start to have no self-control in your profanity. You'll start to have no self-control in your lust. You'll start to have no self-control in your gluttony. I didn't say that, but gluttony is what I was talking about earlier when I was talking about food. And if you have no self-control in your gluttony, you're gonna start to have bad health. Bad health doesn't glorify God, because God says whatever you do, whether you eat or drink or whatever you do, let it all be for the glory of God. You have to eat for the glory of God. If you don't know what that means you have to eat healthy. And I'm not saying every single day you have to eat healthy, but a majority of the time, yes, you do. And also, I'm gonna say that, and also this is one last thing relating to self-control that really like just came to mind. And this is something that I know a lot of people struggle with. So far, I said lust, I said profanity, I said gluttony, and now this last one is finances. Like, if you have no self-control with your finances, you're gonna be broke. And when I say finances, I mean spending money. This is something I slightly struggle with too. This is something that I'm improving at myself, so I'm not gonna really bash anybody for this. I'm not really gonna bash anybody for nothing. I'm just telling how it is and spitting real, but it's real important that, you know what I'm saying, you have good self-control with your spending. If you don't have good self-control with your spending, like the verse says in Proverbs, the wise have wealth and luxury, but fools spend whatever they get. If you don't have no self-control with your finances and your spending, you will never have what you truly want. And this is what I mean. Like, I'm sure everybody got a list of all these things they want to buy, all these things they saving up for. And as soon as they get a paycheck with good money, they spend it on one of those things and now their money gone. So now they gotta work their way back up, and it takes even longer to work their way back up to gain more money. But instead, this is something that I just learned not too long ago. If you save up all your paychecks, you have way more money than you ever had. And then you can probably buy everything on that list, but it's better to buy one thing at a time on that list that you have of things you want. Instead of just getting a check and spending it on one thing that's on your list and then you back broke again. You can save up all your paychecks. Then you have more. Let's say you have a second job. You're making even more money than you really ever had, because you saving up paychecks and you're not spending whatever you get. Without self-control in your finances, and you're gonna spend anything that is given to you. You're gonna spend any cash that's given to you. You're not even gonna think about saving it. You're not even gonna think about letting the cash pile up. You're not even gonna think about letting it increase to real wealth. You're just gonna keep spending it. You're just gonna keep letting it run out. Not even giving it a chance to become even bigger. It's best to just let your money pile up instead of spending all your paychecks foolishness, spending all your paychecks to where you back broke again. And then there's another verse in Proverbs. This ain't on my list, but after I say this proverb, I'm gonna move on to the next verse in this podcast. But the other proverb was like, the wise have wealth, but evil people squander their money on sin. I'm gonna put that somewhere in the podcast if you're viewing this visually, but that's really all I had to say on Proverbs 25:28. But that leads me to my next verse, my second verse. And my second verse, matter of fact, all my verses come from Proverbs. I just feel like every single verse I put down related to the topic so heavily, and it only felt the need to come from Proverbs. Like, what's considered crossing the line to me on my own walk with God. Proverbs has so many verses about boundaries that we all need to put to our lives. The second verse that I've written down is Proverbs 18:24. It says, "A man of many companions may come to ruin, but there is a friend who sticks closer than a brother." There is a friend who sticks closer than a brother. You're probably thinking, why am I putting this verse? Because some people who listen to this right now, they probably think it makes no sense in the context of the topic that I chose. But the reason I put this verse is because of this. Just listen to what I gotta say. The first part of the verse caught my attention the most. So I had to underline it and I had to recognize its importance for this podcast. First part of the verse is only what I'm highlighting and what I'm getting at. Both parts are important, but the first one means the most relating to this topic. The first part of the verse says, "A man of many companions may come to ruin." That's what's considered crossing the line for me on my own journey with God. Having many companions, having many friends. I cannot have too much friends on my walk with God. It's not because I envy people. It's not because I hate people. It's not because I dislike people. It's not any of that. I just can't have many friends on my walk with God because I don't want them to, for one, not be truly down for being a friend, because everybody's not your friend. Just straight like that. If you listen to me right now, everybody's not your friend. I'm gonna just tell you how it is. Everybody's not your friend. Really, where I'm getting at is this: the more friends you have, the more your focus won't be on God. So basically, the less your focus will be on God. And it's kind of like this: either 1 Kings or 2 Kings. I think 2 Kings, but I could be wrong. When King Solomon, he had all these wives and concubines. And they were pretty too, from what the word said. He had all these wives and concubines. But the problem was that they believed in different gods. They all believed in their own gods, which means that all of them didn't believe in this one. Nope. But King Solomon, he got way too carried away. And what I mean by that is all those wives and concubines that he had at the time. Mind you, back then it was legal to do that. This is way back then. It was legal to have that many wives and concubines. Now, if you do it nowadays, you would get looked at crazy for it. But back then, King Solomon, his mind got so carried away, and his relationship with God was dying because all those wives and concubines that he had and that he was always with, they were taking his focus away from the main God. They were taking his focus away from the God that he would always know, the God that he would always pray to and talk to. And that's the problem. If anybody on earth gets in the way of you and your relationship with God, you have a choice to let them stay or cut them off. I suggest cut them off. I suggest walk the other way, because you won't be able to live out your faith as well. You won't be able to live out your courage as well if you have people who are weak in faith, people who don't even believe in God or know God, all in your ear, always trying to talk to you and always hanging with you. You won't be able to be who you want to be. You won't be able to get as far as you want to go. And this goes for women too, young women, middle-aged women, older women. It doesn't matter who's hearing this. To the females, like, if you have so many friends, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with having a lot of girlfriends, like from a female perspective, obviously, but I'm not saying there's nothing wrong with having a lot. But when you have so many that it gets to the point where you're getting pulled away from God, you have so many to the point where you're not being attentive to God, you're not hearing his voice well, you're not understanding him as well anymore, and it's getting to the point where you have all these friends and your relationship with God, it just ultimately isn't as strong, and that's the problem. And I'm gonna speak from my own point of view. Matter of fact, I'm gonna speak from my own experience on this topic. What's considered crossing the line to me on my own journey with God. I know earlier when I said when he has too many friends, but that wasn't it. The rest of completing it would be when he has too many friends and he tries to mix it in my circle. I know that's some of y'all's pet peeves, when you have a friend who has a lot more friends than you have, and they try to mix those friends into your circle. It's like magnets repelling. Like, they'll never stick. They'll never hang on to each other. It'll never make sense. It'll never support each other, and it's just gonna be awkward. And whenever someone has a lot of friends, or whenever your friend has a lot of friends and they're trying to mix it into the friends you have, and the friends you already have are good friends, but when your friend has friends and they're trying to mix their friends into your friend group, it just don't feel right. It's awkward, and it's like, it's going to be a strange feeling, and you may not even like any of your friends' friends. You may enjoy being around your friend, but you may not like your friend's friends, if you get what I'm saying. That's why I feel like the verse says, a man of many companions may come to ruin, because you have way too many friends. You're not discerning enough to cut them off. You're not discerning enough to move away. You're not discerning enough to get rid of them. You're not discerning enough to remove yourself. If you're not removing yourself, you're going to stay where you were. You're not going to elevate. You're not going to grow. You're not going to mature. And that goes into boundaries as well, because a boundary that you should have, I know I have it, but a boundary that you should have is not having too much friends. Have a solid friend group. Have about 5 or 6 friends, maybe 10 at most, but don't have so many friends to the point where you get pulled away from God. That's a boundary. Your friend may love God, but your friend may have friends that don't love God, because your friend isn't discerning enough, but you are discerning enough. So when your friend mixes their friends who don't love God into your friends or your life or your personality, you're going to be heavily affected. But you have to put up boundaries. You have to put up something. If that makes sense. Don't let people mix their stuff and their drama and their friends and their chaos into your life, into your peace, and into your personality, and into you as a person. Don't let nobody do that. You have to have boundaries, and you have to put them up. It's okay to have boundaries, but when will you actually use them is what I'm saying. But that's all I gotta say for my second verse. And now I'm gonna get into my last verse. My last verse comes from Proverbs once again, because I told y'all that all three of the verses I got in this all come from Proverbs. But the verse specifically that comes from Proverbs in this podcast, for my third one, is Proverbs 11:22. And this verse right here might turn a little bit ahead. And this verse says, a beautiful woman who lacks discretion is like a gold ring in a pig's snout. And first of all, for those who don't get the message, for those who don't get the verse, for those who don't understand it, I'm about to explain what it means, because I feel like this is important. So I feel like this verse means a beautiful woman who lacks good profanity, a beautiful woman who lacks good discernment and good judgment, a beautiful woman who lacks godliness, who lacks character, a beautiful woman who lacks, spiritual attractiveness, a beautiful woman who lacks the Spirit of Christ, this is the last thing I'm going to say, a beautiful woman who lacks kindness in the presence of God in her life is like a gold ring in a pig's snout. The gold ring represents the beauty because it's glaring. Everything that glitter ain't gold. That's why it says in a pig's snout. You can't fall for everything that look good. To the fellas, you can't fall for everything that look good, especially if you're walking with Christ. You gotta be way more discerning, because there's gonna be times where you're gonna be tempted with females who do look good, but you can't fall for it because, for one, you know who you are, and for two, you know who your God is. And if she don't show no signs of godliness in her life, I'm not saying she may look ugly. She may look like one of the best looking women you ever seen in your life, but if you really walking with Christ as a young man, you'll understand that if she lacks godliness in her, she's not worth much. She's literally not worth much. If she lacks godliness in her, then she's not really all that. She's not really that beautiful. That's just what you see. That's just a mask. Think of it like a mask. If you don't already have this mindset as a young man, you're about to enter your 20s. Temptation gets heavier in your 20s. I'm not talking like I'm already in my 20s, but I'm talking like I'm thinking ahead already, because I've heard stories. But you have to understand that everything that glitters is not gold. And a beautiful woman, she may be, to you, the most gorgeous woman you probably ever seen on the planet. But if she lacks godliness, she's worth nothing. She's not worth anything. She may have 2 or 3 good qualities about her, but then that's it. Godliness is the whole word. And if she lacks that, she's not wife material. If you ever catch yourself seeing a future with the type of woman like that, your future will be screwed. So that's really all I gotta say on that. But also, just like continuing to add on to what I'm saying, just also on this specific verse on Proverbs 11:22, what's considered crossing the line to me on my own journey with God is just a good looking woman without God in her, falsely thinking she would look good with me. That's where she's wrong, because she will not look good with me if she does not have God in her. That's the only reason, because she does not have God. That's the only possible circumstance. I can't be with someone who don't know God, who don't love God, and most importantly, who doesn't live God. You can know God, you can say you know God, and you can say you love God all you want, but if you don't live God, your words mean nothing, because words without actions are dead. Just like in the same way, faith without works is dead. You can't say you want something huge in your life to happen, but you're not working towards that huge thing you want to happen. Like for me right now, the huge thing I'm working towards is this album that's coming out soon. I've been working towards it, so relating to that verse in James, my faith with my works is alive. It's not dead because I've actually been working towards it. But if you haven't been working towards what you really want to happen, then your faith without works is dead. I feel like Proverbs 11:22 is mainly for the guys, mainly for the men, especially to the ones who are listening to me right now and hearing what I'm saying. Like, a beautiful woman who lacks discretion is like a gold ring in a pig's snout. Sometimes, I'm gonna put this in a better perspective. Sometimes we focus too much on the gold ring and we don't step back and see that it's in a pig's snout. The pig's snout is the woman in full, but the gold ring is just the face. Gold rings are always nice. Gold rings are always pretty. Gold rings always look nice, right? So as a man walking with God, walking with the Lord, you're looking at the gold ring and you're falling for it. You're just admiring this beauty. You might even be lusting after the beauty. But when you step back and you see it in full, then you finally see that the gold ring is in a pig's snout. Anybody listening to this right now knows that pigs are not attractive. Pigs are not good looking animals. Pigs are not good looking creatures. Pigs just aren't good looking. Nope. And so I'm not saying the woman in this case may not be good looking, but I'm saying that her in full, and somebody in full isn't just their face and body, it's their character, it's who they are. Like me in full is not just my face and how I look, Being full is my character and how I talk. Being full is how I walk, how I carry myself, what I say, where I go, who I hang with. That's being full. That's not just how I look or just the outfits I put on or the cologne I wear. That's not being full. The girl in full that you're looking at, it's not just her face. It's not just her hairstyle. It's not just her perfume. It's not just her outfits. Her in full is her character, her spirit, her soul. Her in full is, her actions, how kind she is, her lifestyle, how she lives. That's her in full. And sometimes us as men, we forget that. We forget who she is in full because we're too busy paying attention to her beauty. Sometimes we even forget that we're walking with the Lord. And I guarantee you, if you realize in any situation that's difficult that comes across you as a man, hey, look, I'm walking with the Lord. Think that in your head. I guarantee you, if you think that, you will fall for so much less things. Because once you realize who you're walking with, you realize he can deliver you out of any situation. Easy or difficult, it doesn't matter. But that's what I gotta say on that. That would just be so crazy and hilarious to me for a good looking woman without God inside of her, falsely thinking that she would look good with me. Same with the magnets, it just won't attract. It just won't go together. We just won't go together because she has no firm foundation while I have all the firm foundation. So I'm carrying extra heavy weight because she's in the relationship and she has no firm foundation, so it might sink. You see what I'm saying? So, and it could be vice versa too. There's women out there who date men that don't know God when they do. There's men out there who date women out there who don't know God when they do. And I'm not saying this is a terrible situation. I'm not saying this is a terrible circumstance. As Christians, being equally yoked means dating someone who has the same values as you. Dating someone who has not necessarily the same background, but the same beliefs, if that makes sense. And you won't always bump into people with the same values and beliefs. And that's perfectly fine. That just means you have to find someone who does have them. And the person who does have them, the significant other who has everything that you're looking for, they're the one. But it just takes time because we just have to have faith. But too much of the time we're rushing it. The reason it's not such a terrible thing, a man who knows God and loves God and lives God is dating a woman who doesn't know God. The reason that's not so terrible is because maybe the man can lead the woman to know God. Maybe the man can lead the woman to God. And vice versa, maybe the woman can lead the man to God. The grown man who doesn't know God, the grown woman who is the girlfriend can lead the man to God. But I wouldn't even personally put myself in that situation because it's just so much easier getting into a relationship when y'all already know y'all's foundation. Y'all both have a firm foundation. Y'all both know the same exact verses, which is already super good. So y'all don't have to lead each other to Christ. Y'all are already led to Christ by someone who already did it. Y'all were brought up that way. And if you're with someone who wasn't brought up that way, they won't know him. And if you're with someone who doesn't know God, that means they weren't brought up that way. And everybody was just brought up differently. Some people find out about Christ sooner than others, and some people find out about Christ later than others. But what counts and what matters is ultimately that you just find out about him. Because that's very important to find out about him. You have to place your whole life foundation on him and watch it bloom like a flower and sprout like a tree. But I hope I covered this topic well. I hope this spoke to somebody. This is the end of the podcast. In this podcast right here, this was Powered by Christ Podcast Season 2, Episode 5. And the topic was boundaries and what's considered crossing the line for me on my own journey with God. And in this podcast, I spoke about what's considered me crossing the line in somebody else's life from my own perspective, and what's considered somebody else crossing the line in my life from my own perspective. So I hope that put things into focus. I hope it had a lot of clarity to it. I hope you understood it. And what has God delivered me from in terms of this? God delivered me from having no boundaries at all. I used to do anything the crowd would do just to feel validation, just to want to be accepted by others, and just to want to be cared for by others, when really I should have only been looking for that from God. And you should only be looking for that from God too. Don't worry about what they're doing. Don't worry about what they're doing. Don't focus on what none of them doing. Just focus on the man above, and he gonna give you all your heart's desires in due time. Continue to pray, continue to stay close to him, and continue to live him. It's okay to love him, but you don't love him if you don't live him. And I just spoke to somebody. So I hope this stuck out to somebody. And like I said earlier, I can't be with a female without God. That's her crossing the line for me. This is the line, and if she were to cross it, then it would be her doing that. It would be her as a good-looking female without God inside of her, falsely thinking that we would look good together just because she looks good. Like, I'm at a point in my life right now, and I'm at a point in my walk where the only thing that can keep me with a female is not just her looks. I'm at a point in my life right now, and I'm at a point in my walk with God right now. Good looks, beautiful hairstyle, beautiful face, 5-star perfume, that's not enough to keep me with a female. She has to live out verses, and I have to see that. First, I have to see it from a distance, but when I'm actually with her and I'm actually experiencing it and you know, seeing her live out those verses when I'm right next to her, that's like bingo. That's like even a bigger confirmation that she could be the one. But no female can look good with me without God in her. That's like the boundary. That's the bottom line. And I hope it's the same for you. I hope every man who just heard what I just said has the same exact boundary I just said. Don't let any man be with you without God, who doesn't have God included in him, because he's going to pull you away and you're going to start to do stuff that you've never done before. And trust me when I say this, because I know what I'm talking about. And I've been through it. High school, it was the worst. But once I got into college, I started to better live out my faith, and I started to gain way more confidence. But that's all I gotta say for this podcast. You just tuned in to Powered by Christ podcast season 2, episode 5. Hope you enjoyed it. I hope you share my podcast. I hope you like, comment, subscribe, turn on post notifications, and tag me on y'all's Instagrams or TikToks or social medias with my @ if you tune in, so I can repost you. That's all I gotta say. My name is Malachi Jones, musically known as MalWorldWide. And lastly, even huger news, my newest album, abbreviated as TBTB, like I said in the past podcast, it has 17 songs on it, and they all bangers, there's 0 misses. Go hit the soul. Some might cry to it, some might smile to it, some might weep to it, some might cry tears of joy to it, others might cry just because it's emotional. Some people just won't stop smiling because of it. But ultimately, this album that I'm about to put out in August will make the whole world feel a different way. Everybody who listens to my album in August is going to perceive it differently. I just hope you can relate to my lyrics and you perceive it well. Also, this right here is the last thing I'm going to say. Save the date in your calendar, because July 18th, 2025, I'm releasing my album tracklist cover. I'm announcing my official album drop date, and my album will be available for pre-order all on July 18th, 2025. That's a big day for me. So save the date in your calendars, because July 18th, 2025 is going to be a huge day. I got 3 things going on that day. You can pre-order my album on all platforms. Then you'll get a chance to exclusively see all the names of the 17 songs on my album, plus the album name and the album cover. So that's really 4 things in full for TBTB. Hope y'all enjoyed this podcast. I hope y'all enjoy my next podcast that I drop really soon. Probably next week, most likely. And I pray over the success of this album that comes out in August. And I pray also even more that y'all enjoy this album that I put out in August. I know everybody going back to school around that time, and I am too. So I feel like that's the perfect time to drop it. But the day I'm dropping the album has an even deeper meaning to it. Just stay tuned to find out what it is. That's all I gotta say. It's your boy Malachi Jones, musically known as MalWorldWide. Now stay tuned for more podcasts and music. That's all I gotta say. Peace out.
You know you someone that I can depend on all through the drama. You know I bought one.